How do you?
Started. Okay. Did you think about how we might start this off?
um,
Because I didn't.
I was gonna say nah. Actually, what we could do is go back. I before I sent that big old novel that started this whole thing that y'all were like, maybe let's pause. I typed
Yeah.
it out in a note on my phone,
Hmm.
but I don't remember what you had said initially that made me say that. Make sense? So
Right.
like maybe just start there with
Okay.
what you had said if you remember.
Yes. Well, somebody just asked everyone if they were neighborly to their actual like physical
Oh
neighbors.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I just said that that's something that it's probably one of the most sinful areas of my life. Um, is just that bitterness or hostility towards people that I see in my neighborhood.
yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Um, and then I just word vomited everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
um, as usual. And let's see. I basically, I don't know what, like, I'm trying to summarize this. I don't know how. Um, I think I was just saying that I struggle with the fact that I feel like I am that girl that you were saying you're resistant to be neighborly to, but all I want is to love the people in my neighborhood, in the neighborhood where I've chosen to live. You know, incarnational ministry I feel like is a big deal to me, and like really being like in and among and with the people that you want to love on, and that's I don't know, like I've never liked the idea of just like throwing like oh yeah, we love that neighborhood, we had a little like we had a little basketball tournament to raise money for their community center, like,
Okay.
but you don't know them, you don't know, you're throwing money at something that you don't even know the people, you don't know, like, so I don't know.
Okay.
I think most of my rant, actually, now that I'm looking at it, was kind of giving the background of my neighborhood and my city in general. Um, yeah, I said I moved here to love on and be loved by the people who are now my neighbors. Um, I also was just honestly really tired of not having any friends. I've only lived in Knoxville for a year and a half, and I just moved to this neighborhood 6 months ago. So
Mm-hmm.
the first year I was here, I was just really tired of not having any friends who were not white suburban middle class. Like that was all my friends, and I was really tired of it.
Is that
Um,
true for most of your life?
mm, that's true of the settings I've been in, but I've always like gravitated towards people who are different than me. Like literally any kid who had anything different from them in school, like I was the one to go talk to them and find out about, like, even if they were white but they had moved here from another state, I was like,
Okay.
tell me about it. Like, where are you from? What do you like? That's literally. I keep saying literally. Sorry, I don't know where that's, but um, yeah. So I think I struggle
Okay.
um because, oh, to answer your question, no, I've had like lots of like most of my I don't know about most. A lot of my friends at Belmont, I went to Belmont. It was mostly like a predominantly white school, but like the friends that I found were the ones who like Jamaican Chinese and a couple African American guys and like girls from I don't know like international students. I work with international students now. Um, yeah, I feel like I'm always gravitate. Oh, one of my best friends is Taiwanese American. Like
Mm-hmm.
all these different people. So yeah, so moving to this neighborhood has been like life-giving for me because I'm like, oh, yes, like non-white people, being around white people a lot actually exhausts me. Like yeah, I don't know.
Okay. That
And
makes sense.
yeah,
Okay.
but I struggle being here because I feel like I haven't established enough of a relationship with people yet for them to know that I'm not like I don't intend to be just one of those people like
Mhm.
just dropping in and like making it a cool hip neighborhood. That's not my goal at all. Like
Mhm.
I want to know what the neighborhood already is and what the people like already are and like what they love and what they do and like I want to be like in that um as it is. I don't really want to change it, but I feel like people think that. I don't know. I'm rambling. Sorry. I'm done.
Okay, that makes sense. Maybe I can explain a little bit of my experience. And I talk a lot, and I'm gonna really try to like do this in a nutshell. And that might help you understand their like resistance to
Yeah.
it. So I've lived in the same like 2 block radius my entire life, like to this
Mhm.
day, right now.
Mhm.
Like we lived in one apartment, moved 2 blocks away. 10 years later, moved next door to where we lived. And so I'm in Denver, by the way,
Mhm.
and I live close to downtown in what was formerly like a fairly rough neighborhood.
Mhm.
Like there's a show, I don't know if it still airs, but it's on the History Channel called Gangland,
Mhm.
and like they did an episode on my neighborhood.
Wow.
Like I grew up with gunshots and like people falling out of windows because they were on drugs and all this stuff, and it was um, normal for me
Mhm.
and also not bad.
Mhm.
Like people would say it was a bad neighborhood, but it wasn't for me. Like
Mhm.
things like that were just a part of everyday life, and I was aware of them. But then there were a lot of other awesome things going on. Like people in the neighborhood were close to each other, and we had a lot of people who were like artists, and my mom was an artist, so we had a lot of like community events all the time. Like there's a wall along the highway like a couple blocks from my house. When we were kids, we all got a tile to paint and to paint our
Mhm.
name on. And they took them all and put them. I think we lost her.
Oh no!
I
What happened?
think she lost her internet connection. It's like suddenly
Wow.
she's gone. Okay, I can wait for her to come back. Maybe I'll check on Facebook and see. I know it's frustrating having an older computer because that's what I usually have. Okay, she said her internet just crashed on
Oh
Facebook.
wow. That sucks.
She said Satan really doesn't want us to have this conversation. Okay, she's trying.
You're back.
Hi.
Hi.
Uh,
Okay, where did you leave?
you painted a tile with your name on it.
Okay. So all the neighborhood kids did that, and like we did a workshop together, and then they like put them up against the highway like permanently.
Okay.
So like I did mine when I was 3 years old,
Oh,
so I could walk out my door and see my little painting of a clown that I made.
that's awesome.
And so we would do stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
And so yes, there were people that were involved in horrible things. But for the most part, I just remember like the guy pushing his popsicle cart and running after him, and just like a very like what's the word? What's the opposite of ignorant?
Uh,
Like a very aware
yeah.
and rich childhood where
Yeah.
I grew up. Um, and I loved it, but I think it was maybe 10 years ago is when the process started happening in my neighborhood because we are like right across the highway from downtown.
Hmm.
And so they built a bridge from my neighborhood to downtown, a walking bridge that goes over the
Mhm.
highway. So then it was like we were suddenly connected to like the heart of the city,
Gotcha. Yeah.
and everyone wanted to live here.
Mhm.
And so they started doing like major development,
Yeah.
and they're all these very modern looking, very expensive houses. They're usually like from the 500s up,
Okay.
and that means scraping all the old houses
Yeah.
and building these things. And when you're so fond of a place and like feel connected to a place, and then it's just wiped away because it's not important to other people,
Right.
that's frustrating. And it's like it's a nostalgia thing too. You're a kid, you go
Yeah.
to a certain place, and it's like your favorite park gets mowed down for a 7-Eleven, but on a huge scale.
Yeah. No, I get
And
absolutely.
that's like the basic like personal feeling with it, but there's a lot behind that too,
Mhm.
because the people who lived here were already people that feel disregarded,
Mhm.
and there's like no, like, how more blatant can you be about it
Mhm.
than like if we're for the most part renters,
Yeah.
and you like find a place where you feel at home,
Mhm.
but that doesn't matter anymore when someone else wants it. You get pushed out or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a super like unspiritual response to have,
Hmm.
but the reality is that most people aren't very spiritual. And that's just how it is. Like, somebody takes something that you want and you get mad about it.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of bitterness there for people, and even more so because it feels like a part of the way that we've been treated historically, but
Right.
just in a modern way.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're Native American. Historically, you get pushed off of your land.
Mhm.
You're Native American in the modern world. It still happens, just on a different scale.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like really deep-rooted stuff there, because when you grow up in that kind of family, the way that you learn about history is different than a way that a white kid will learn about history.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of ingrained in you that like, it's racism.
Yeah.
It's just something that I grew up with.
Yeah.
It's like, these are things that white people do.
Yeah.
Look, it's happening to you right now. Here's a perfect example.
Yeah.
It's happening. So, but the thing about me is I was in a magnet program, so
Mhm.
I didn't go to the schools in my neighborhood. I was bused to better schools. And in those schools, my classes were super diverse.
Mhm.
And so I was always like one of the girls in a group of friends. And there's usually like 2 Asian girls, 2 Hispanic girls, 2 white girls, 2 black girls.
Yeah.
And so I was really open to everybody.
Mhm.
And I didn't feel like inferior to white people because they were just my classmates, and we were always mixed together because we were all bused from all over the city.
Yeah.
So initially, like when this started happening, I didn't feel a lot of that bitterness because it's just like, oh, look, white people are in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But then as I started seeing what was actually happening, it was pretty, in my mind, I think I was a younger teenager when this started happening, so I started connecting all these dots.
Yeah.
And about a couple years into that, a church opened in my neighborhood, like a church plant happened.
Mhm.
And it was all like 20-something professional white people
Mhm.
with this mindset, like, we're here to like be a light in this neighborhood and that kind of thing. And so I started going there, like made that my church. It was the first church I ever went to.
Mhm.
And just did everything I could to try to connect with them. Anytime they invited me somewhere, I went. Anytime like I could try to spend time with them, I did. And over the course of a couple years, it was just like a relational failure after failure after failure.
Mhm.
And eventually like my whole family was just ostracized from the church.
Mm.
And also were any Hispanic people that tried to go to the church.
Mm-hmm.
And it just fed into that bitterness that was
Yeah.
already like growing in me.
Yeah.
And there was this definitely, like, I want to still believe it was genuine, like, attitude of we're here to help, we're here to love you. Like, on their window it's like, you know, to transform lives, to invest in people, like stuff like that. It sounds really good.
Yeah.
And but when you got in there, they weren't interested in getting to know you
Mm.
or getting to see where you were coming from. They were interested in saving you
Mm.
from something that they thought was negative.
Right.
Like, um,
Right.
they were going to just swoop in and be your white savior.
Right.
And so I've had a lot of, like, stuff in my life that should have really broke my heart, but didn't. But this situation with this church and the women in it was just, like, it shattered me. I think I was, like, 17. And so after that, I pretty much dove headfirst into racist ideologies. I was a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know how to process that kind of rejection
Mm-hmm.
based on just feeling completely unheard and unimportant and that kind of thing. So there are things called like the American Indian movement
Mm-hmm.
and the Mexica movement, and they're incredibly racist and anti-white.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a lot of comfort in them, and, like, um, always wanted to really get involved in them in a more, like, active role. But I was still a Christian, and I still had the Holy Spirit, and there was conviction that would come and, like, hold me back.
Yeah.
But they're super radical. Like, the American Indian movement will, like, burn down buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how deep my anger was. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there were times where I was, like, close to setting something on fire, or we would act out in little ways against the people in the neighborhood. Like, we'd be walking, and, like, one of my family members was with me, we're, like, eating frozen yogurt, and you'd see people, like, sitting inside the restaurants eating, just completely oblivious to every way that your suffering corresponds to their convenience or enjoyment or that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, someone I was walking with just, like, looks at them with disgust and, like, takes their yogurt and just, like, flicks it at the window. And it's not, you know, it hits the window, not them.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
just, like, that represents the feelings of just, like, F you.
Yeah.
And what makes it the most frustrating is that when there were Christians that should have listened and should have been open, they were defensive
Yeah.
and certain that they knew everything,
Yeah.
and that they were just on a high horse.
Mm-hmm.
And so a couple years after I stopped going to that church, I contacted one of the women, and I was like, there's a lot of bad blood between me and all of these women. Like, let's sit down and have dinner and talk.
Mm-hmm.
At this time I was like 19, she was probably like 28. And I was like, what happened? Why, when we tried to reach out and, like, really build relationships with you, didn't it happen? And all she could say was, we didn't know how to relate to you. We didn't know what to do with you. And so we just avoided it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But I was 16 years old, and you guys were in your late 20s.
Yeah.
And you're Christians coming to love everybody.
Yeah.
And your unwillingness to get into uncomfortable situations and conversation, like,
Yeah.
led me down a pretty, I mean, I take responsibility for it, but, like,
Right.
led me down a pretty dark path with that kind of stuff. And it was little things. For example, it was when I would say, let's go get something to eat. Let's go down on Federal and find a Mexican restaurant. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, no, that's so sketchy. And it's very common. I'm just like, no, it's not. You're fine. Like,
Yeah.
I would go there by myself when I was 13. Like, nothing's going to happen to you. Nobody's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And to this day, at my current church, which I love, and it's a completely different situation, like, we have an amusement park called Lakeside that is run down, and it's like was built in the 1800s, and it's like the cheaper option for amusement parks.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's very quaint and very cute to me. And I was like, when I was going to get married, I wanted to have my wedding at Lakeside. And they're like, are you serious? That's so grody. What, do you want to get shot at your wedding? Like that kind of stuff. And it's like, there are people that I definitely know care about me and don't mean anything by it. But it's just like what I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And so for the most part, 95, if not more, % of people that are part of the gentrifying process don't feel the way that you do. And they don't really care and don't really want to be bothered. And of Christians in that category of people that are gentrifying, don't want the boat to be rocked. And they want to pretend that things like racism just don't exist. Or I just see everybody the same. And I'm like, okay, I understand that you see everybody the same. But when you're that insensitive about other people's culture, technically you're not racist, but you can be a big jerk about culture and still not be a racist. And that's kind of what's more important. Like when you're always making comments about how something's unappealing to you that is close to someone else's heart, then it's like you're constantly looking down at things that aren't familiar to you. So I would just say that, like I said, most people aren't like you, and you kind of have to take the word, like you pay for their sins, kind of. And so when people look at you, it is racism, but they're going to see you through that bitterness caused by other people. But just like the right people will be open and intentional about things, the right people on my side will be open to you. Like they're going to be jerks in both cases. But there's, even for me as a Christian, like so much, it's so easy for my flesh to just get monstrous over this. It's taken like several years of like really trying to work through it. So for people that aren't believers, it's only worse.
Wow. Thanks for sharing all
Sorry,
that.
I bet that was like 20 minutes.
That was amazing. That was really, really good to hear, and really, really helpful for me to like be reminded of. I forget sometimes what the struggle actually is, and I think just listening to you, I'm reminded the struggle is knowing that I just have to work through like all these preconceived notions that my neighbors will have of me. I just have to like get to know them, and just I really, like describing that church that just wrecked you, like that's the opposite of anything. Like, well, okay, I'm going to clarify. I'm really grateful because my neighborhood is not quite the same as what it sounds like yours is. I can think of some neighborhoods in Nashville that I'm familiar with. I used to live in Nashville, that are a lot more like yours. Like they're becoming just rapidly overnight, like all the rich white people are moving there because it's cool and everything's changing. But my neighborhood is a lot less of that. There's like one neighborhood over is kind of where a lot of that stuff is happening in Knoxville. The cooler, like when you think of gentrification, it's that. So my neighborhood's not quite there yet, and I'm also grateful because our house, it hasn't like been made into the little cutesy little cool houses. Like I don't want it to be like. And my roommate and I, neither one, like we aren't how did my pastor was talking about this one time? He said there's a difference between urban and cosmopolitan, I think was how he put it. And so when you think of the people that you're describing that are moving into your neighborhood, like they're the cosmopolitan, like, you know, whatever. And then there's urban, which is like truly like been there forever, like you're like, you know what I mean? No matter, you know, where, what, like whatever. So I don't know what I'm saying. Was that's my context is a little bit different,
Yeah.
which I'm grateful for. I think I'm just struggling because it's a hard process to get to know my neighbors. I think it'll be easier now that the weather's getting better and people are outside more. But it's just really discouraging because I don't know. I don't know for sure how long I'll be here, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm here for a good long while. You know, I don't want to. If I'm in Knoxville, I want to be here. Not because of some paternalistic like I want to save the neighborhood. Just like I want to be a part of this neighborhood. Like I think there's a lot of good here. I want to be a part of it. Like I really value a lot of the community that is already there. Has been there for, you know, decades and decades. So I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
What's your church like? Is it in the neighborhood?
Church is so frustrating. I love my church. It's like another neighborhood over. My church is right next to the campus where I work. So it's in the church is in the middle of where a lot of the students live, and the church is only 11 years old. So when it started, it was all these college students, recent graduates, started as a Bible study and then grew into this church. Well, now all those college grads have families, and a lot of them, even though they at one time were like for the city, like their vision and mission was like existing to serve University Knoxville, because right around the university there's a lot of homeless, a lot of poverty, like the areas right around campus. And so that was their vision and mission. But then all these families, these young families, were like, oh, our kids have to go to school, and we want them to go to good schools, so we're going to move out west to the suburbs and come into church, which makes no sense. So our currently, we just got a new pastor too. So everything in my life has been a big transition for the past like 7 years. But the pastor just came 6 months ago. Right after I'm into this house, we got a new pastor who's really great, and I'm really encouraged and hopeful because I think his heart is in the right place. But a lot of the people currently in our church are, I'd say it's about 60-40, maybe like 70-30, 70 being the, you know, suburban, like, you know, yeah, we love the poor, but like we don't want to live there. We don't want to be for them, like, in that way. But we'll give money, and we'll Haiti, and we'll do all these things, but like we want to get our hands dirty or actually get to these people that we say we care about. There's the like 40 or 30% of us that actually are like have homeless friends and like, you know, are aware when shootings happen in these neighborhoods. Like all my West Knox friends, like they didn't even know until I shared on Facebook that this 12-year-old was shot down the street. Like,
Yeah.
no, because that's not on radar. And it happens all the time, and they don't like hear about it. And granted, I'm still trying to figure out how to hear about it, even though like I'm here, like, because I'm still trying to know the people. But anyway, all that to say. What was your question? I don't even know.
Just about your church.
Oh yeah, so church is in a transition. I'm hopeful. I think it's yeah. And there's been talk of the suburban people planting out west where they live, which on the one hand is infuriating because there's a million churches out west that are great churches that they could be a part of. Need another church out west, but on the other hand, it's like, fine. Like, I would feel more comfortable bringing my neighbors to my church if you guys weren't here acting like it's a suburban church, you know? Like, I don't know. So,
Right.
anyway, yeah. So that's my church. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm also really struggling because I'm struggling to find a good, like, community of like-minded people here in Knoxville. I know they exist, but I have to go to church at the church I go to because of my job. And there are people that are more like-minded, I guess. They go to a couple other different churches. Churches that I really wouldn't want to go to. Like, I don't really want to go to those churches, but there are people I want to get plugged in with that I just haven't yet because I don't see them anyway. So that's a struggle just to know how to process. I don't have friends here that I can process this with. My roommate, you know, she's been here forever and she's great, but like, you know, other than that, I don't know. It's hard. So, but yeah. Thanks for sharing your perspective. That was really good to be reminded of all that and all the, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Do you feel like when you make efforts to connect with people and then their response is like dismissive or
They're just really suspicious, I feel like.
really what?
Suspicious.
Oh, suspicious. Okay.
That's the vibe I get anyway. Like, they're polite because we're in the South, you know.
Right.
My neighbors, one time my lawnmower stopped working like 5 times in a row, and they let me use their lawnmower. Like, you know, they're great. Actually, I think they've offered to mow our yard for us, but I think we're gonna have them weed eat. They used to do it for the girls that lived here before. Anyway, so like, yeah, and then, you know, anytime I see people out and about, like, I wave. One time I saw a guy like, fixing his car. I stopped to see if he needed help. Like, you know, like, just trying to, after the shooting, there was a prayer vigil. I was there, like, tried to talk to people. One woman I happened to talk to doesn't even live in the neighborhood, but it's okay. It was good to talk to her, but yeah. I mean, do you have any thoughts? Like, I don't know.
I think I would just say that if there is any kind of like you feel like wall up or anything like that, that is just so far from being about you and like anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
That if I were you, I just like it's so deeply rooted and big.
Yeah.
That even if you're one of the very few people who thinks the way that you do and like tries your best, the results of that effort might never be what you want them to be because of just how bad it is.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't like take it personally at all.
Yeah. That's a struggle to know that it's probably personal. It's hard too because our neighbors that are always, their house faces our driveway and our yard, and we see them all the time. They're out all the time. They really don't like our landlord. Our other neighbor, like on the other side of us, they have some beef because he's CS on them, and we're pretty sure that they're doing something illegal. We don't really know. Like, the landlord is pretty sure of that. And he's a great guy, but I think he's just ruffled their feathers one too many times, and also there were some issues with the girls that lived here before us. They were really close with those neighbors, like had them over all the time, and I think maybe they had too many like big parties in the house and like caused some damage. So the landlord got mad at the girls and the neighbors through that. I'm not really sure exactly, but then when we moved in, they saw him like. When we first moved in, he was like pointing to the houses and like telling us about our neighbors, and they just assumed that he was telling us like, oh, stay away from those people, they're awful. And I only know that because my roommate knows the girls who lived here before us, and they found that out from the neighbors. So it's like this added, like, in addition to all this other stuff, they think that the landlord has been telling us that they're awful people. And so they think that we think that. And
right.
I don't I don't know that
Yeah.
they're like I don't think they're awful. Oh wow, it just switched.
Can I ask a
Uh,
question here?
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Just from what you're saying. Have you tried, I know you're not in your neighborhood from a savior type of perspective. That's not why you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried starting in a very small way, trying to just gradually build a relationship with one person or two people?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
it's the neighbors that think you have a problem with them. That, have you tried having them over for coffee or going out for
Yeah.
ice cream or whatever local things are in your area? Hey,
Yeah.
grab lunch, I'd like to get to know you, or,
Yeah.
whatever. Something small, something manageable. Not trying to eat the whole elephant, but
Sure, sure.
one bite.
That's a great. That's a great suggestion. Um, that's definitely been on my radar. I've been trying to figure out like who would be the best people to try and get to know. There's a lot going on with those neighbors because it's like two sisters that live next door, and there's all these people that are all these kids that I'm not sure. I'm still not sure who lives where, who's cousins, and who's like they're all just together all the time, and I don't know. Um, there aren't really, yeah, there aren't really people like in their 20s, for example, that would be an easy like, oh, cool, we're the same age, like let's hang out. There's like high schoolers, and then the like 40-year-old like moms and stuff that
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's been on my radar. I just, yeah, haven't done it yet.
Who to approach, yeah.
Yeah.
I think as far as things like this go, like the best bet for like really, you know, would
Mhm.
be through your church.
Mm.
Because there are people in the neighborhood who are like I was. And
Mhm.
it's almost like if you build it, they will come type of thing.
Yeah.
If something's available, um, like a community group or a small group or like I started going to my church through like they would do just like community music nights or that kind
Mhm.
of thing.
I was
So they would
just thinking that. That's so funny.
so and they would have like free smoothies and stuff. So like we would walk by and we'd see that and we'd be like, oh okay, and then they'd invite us to church
Mhm.
and then when it was time to find a church, it was like, why don't we go back there? Like, they seemed friendly enough, whatever. Um, but then you start to realize that what's going to happen is that you need to, what's the word? I don't know how to use a different word, but like assimilate into their
Yeah.
church culture. Okay, so like you need to assimilate to their church culture. They are not going to do that with you.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and when they're like kind of like in your community space and want you to become them,
Mhm.
that's where things get kind of like, ugh.
Mhm.
Because people like, okay, as like an ethnic person, I am fully aware of white culture
Mhm.
and what it looks like, how it feels to interact with white people, how they're social, like the difference between going out and getting a beer with your coworker and going to a meeting with
Yeah.
your employers.
Yeah.
And so I'm like fully versed in that, but one of those people has no idea what it's like to come to my family gathering or to, I mean, like I've dated a lot of white guys, so it's like I know what it's like what their Christmas opening presents thing is
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They will probably, unless they date someone like me, never know what it's like to be at my family where everyone's just like screaming and running around and eating off of paper plates and yelling and getting in fights, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when there's like community stuff like that, I feel out of place because their kind of music, their kind of food, the way they even organize things is like now I'm comfortable with it, but
Yeah.
there was a point I wasn't, and the reason I'm comfortable with it is because of my dating history, my education
Right.
history, my
Right.
church history, stuff like that. They might never have like had to try to assimilate the way I have. So when they go on there, they're like, "Oh, this is stuck up. This is so white. I don't even want to be
Mhm.
here. I just want to go back to where I'm comfortable."
Yeah.
Um, so but like the poor people who are putting on the event or whatever have no idea because it's their
Right.
normal.
Right.
And it's just, this is what a church potluck music night looks like, and the people that want to come just feel totally out of place.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me is that, like, okay, like I like lean libertarian,
Mm-hmm.
and I sometimes don't have a lot of compassion for some poor people I know because I come from that and I know how far some good decisions will get you,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of thing. And so I'm not suggesting that the church try to fix our communities or try to, like, anything like that. I think it comes down to these little things that get in the way of, like, initial connection.
Yeah.
When I say, hey, let's go eat here, and it's like shot down and like noses are turned up at it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter like how big you're thinking about like integrating the church and all this stuff, if at the very like
Yeah.
spark
Yeah.
of a relationship it's put out. And
Yeah.
so I don't think that, I mean, economically, this is what happens, capitalism. Like, there's opportunities to build here, people build here, that's not inherently wrong. I don't like it, but like,
Yeah.
it like helps the economy, like whatever. And then like politically, I don't support like the government programs to help people in the neighborhood or like that kind of stuff to an extent. And so I think it's like purely a social issue, and everyone's trying to like fix all these big things and like taking all these different roads to it, when I'm like, just ask someone in the neighborhood to help you plan
Right.
the potluck, because like a potluck at my the second church I went to, it's like it was like 70% senior citizens. They're like 60 to 85,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them were like just like old black women who would like cook the potluck dinner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to look incredibly different than when at my first church it was like, let's all go to Chipotle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, that's just how I see it. It's the smallest things that end up being such big deals.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
if I say, let's go to Lakeside, just go to Lakeside. Just try something new that you haven't done before and stop making, like, snap judgments about it.
Yeah.
So, like, see if it's, like, with your church, then if you know something like that, a majority of people just don't.
Yeah.
And, like, they can have the best intentions in the world, but it's 10 times easier to create distance between people than to, like, bring them closer.
Uh-huh.
So it's like one comment that you is misheard by the other person is
Yeah.
like instantly makes them like suspicious of you or whatever.
Yeah.
When it takes like being way more intentional to just like let them be open to you.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Well, it's the same. It's like that quote about like you have to take for every look at your sin, take 5 looks at the cross or something like that.
mhm,
Like that same kind of thing. Like you have to, or teaching with little kids, like
mhm,
5 praises for every negative like feedback, whatever, you know.
mhm.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we're just prone to like, when there's that much bitterness in some
Yeah.
people or just uncertainty, you're almost like looking for a reason not to have to get into those uncomfortable situations. Like,
Yeah.
when I would go to like a church thing in the neighborhood, I'm almost assuming that they look down on me
Mm.
because that's the way I was raised, the things I've heard all my life. And so at the slightest, like, somebody cuts me off in the smoothie line, I'm like, they think they're better than me, they don't care, they're selfish, whatever, I'm out, peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like 95% my problem.
Yeah.
But for the 5% that it's the other person's thing, if they're really wanting to bridge that, then it takes the smallest things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. There's a church that is like 3 blocks down from me that my friend goes to. I've been there a couple times, but I don't know how many of the people at that church are actually in the neighborhood. And so I'm trying to think about, because like Knoxville, there's like a church on every block, like every corner, like every other thing is a church. And so like there's any number, sorry, you were talking about like people at my church, but as you were talking, I was also thinking about like if I go to church, like a church in the neighborhood that's been here for years. And I'm just trying to think if it would be better, like if I could just go to that church and just see who I meet there, or if I should maybe spend my time more investing in relationships with actual neighbors that I might see on a daily basis and then find out where they go to church. I'm trying to think about which would be more strategic. Not strategic in like in any kind of way. I just mean like, where am I going to invest my time? Like if I only have a limited amount of time, what would be the most, I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, so when I was going to that first church, the demographic was like, we were literally the only brown people there, except for actually there was one other girl, but of course she ended up leaving eventually too. But I was so like still hungry for actual connection with other Christians, but I just wasn't getting there. That I would just go to like a Wednesday Bible study at another church.
Yeah.
Or a Thursday one if my church didn't have anything going on.
Yeah.
And just try to like make friends there, even if I wasn't looking for my church there. But I just like needed that.
Yeah.
But I mean, even if you just go one time and like see what happens,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've actually done that before. I was attending a church far away from where I lived, but I was spending a lot of hangout time with folks that were closer to my age at a friend's church.
Okay.
And I never would have joined that church, but in building those relationships with those people, the church plant that I'm now a part of, some of the folks that I was hanging out with, they left their church. They were looking for a Reformed church. We stumbled across one. They invited me to that Bible study that was at that place, and now we've all ended up there together. So even those small connections, like like you guys were saying, you never know what can come out of it. Even just building relationships, but it doesn't have to be that you're looking for it to be your home church. Just meet people.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. Oh, yeah. Man, y'all got me excited. I want to like just go out and start talking to everybody. It's like, yeah. Oh man. Well, and I hate it too because I'm going to be gone all of May. So now I'm thinking about all this stuff, and then I'm going to be gone for a month. I don't know. Yeah. I think I'm in this like seems like perpetual transition, just always transitioning, and I'm ready to like figure out where I'm going to land so I can really be there and really invest, I think that's probably part of my issue too, is like I've been hesitant to get more plugged in because I don't know, like, my roommate, like, if she gets married, like, if I get married, like, where are we going to, like, what's going to happen? Like, am I going to be in this neighborhood? Am I going to be in this city? Am I going to be in this country? I don't know. Like, yeah. I mean, I'm here now, so I can go ahead and, like, obviously love people best I can while I'm here, but, yeah. Jackie, are you saying something?
No, I was just listening.
Oh, it's a giant black screen right now. Oh, there you are.
I think a really basic, but so I went to when I went to college, I got a degree in like social justice, and so I'm not. It's funny because I like disagreed with 90% of what they were teaching, but I really enjoyed it. But I still like learned a lot of like that language.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to snap out of it because it sounds so dumb a lot of the time. But a really effective and powerful way to like try, but very simple way something that I wish that people would have done with me at that church was just like ask questions, just and take my suggestions. You know, like where's a good? It comes back. I come back to it like all the time, but it's like so simple. Like I don't know, food is important. Like where can we go eat? You know, what's like somewhere or something I've never tried before, or that kind of thing. And it's probably going to be good because they know the neighborhood, and you might see a roach, but it's not a big deal. You know, just like be chill.
That's so me.
Yeah, but like I just wish that I would have felt like in the smallest ways listened to or acknowledged as having some authority on the neighborhood. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I had to offer at the time. Like, I was 17, I wasn't very smart, I wasn't educated, I didn't know what I was talking about half the time, but I know where the good tacos are, you know, like that kind of thing.
That's
so
true. Good stuff.
I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, that's good. My degree is in social work, so I get that whole, like, a lot of my language, I'm realizing, especially in this reformed group, people do not appreciate that, like, at all. And it's good because I'm trying to learn now how to communicate with, you know, your typical reformed person about these things, and it's challenged me to reconsider, like, okay, I believe this is true, and I believe the Bible probably agrees that it's true, but like, how do I communicate this biblically,
right,
so that they will understand, so that they'll hear me, you know?
Right.
Well,
that's like, good.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, that whole, was that yesterday? What day did that blow up with the liturgists? Did you see that?
Yeah. I didn't see where it blew up though. I just like maybe it was in a sub comment section because I kind of just scrolled through. Yeah, I didn't. I kind of am just like I feel like your voice just gets drowned out, and I am a horrible communicator, and like you guys probably saw this in like the women's chat. Like maybe part of it comes from like that experience with church and that being my initial experience where I'm like, I'm gonna say whatever the hell I want to say, like how I want to say it, and like if the right people hear it or listen, they do. If the other one gets mad at me, what else is new? You know, like that kind of thing. Which, so I should probably be more like you, and like, you know, be more discerning and careful and discreet and that kind of thing. But
I'm not saying I am careful and discerning. I
want to be.
I want to be desperately, but I'm not there.
Yeah.
I would love to be.
Work on that too.
Yeah. Typing out my words is a little bit harder. Like, I'm not master at communicating tone over the internet.
Me either. It's terrible.
I mean, I really don't think anybody is. I'm sure a lot of things, like anytime. Well, I was going to use Joe as an example because he both types and does audio, I feel like, equally. Mm-hmm. I feel like I understand. He could say the same thing typed and like say it then over audio, and like it makes so much more sense to me when he says it than when he types. And he's saying the same thing. Right. You know, and I feel like for me it's the same way. Like, he was shocked when I sent that audio. He was like, I love the tone you used. And I'm like, this is the tone I'm normally trying to communicate in. Read it with all your own lenses on there, assuming this and that. And so I don't know. I might just stick to audio forever.
Yes, and I've gotten myself into so many pickles at this point that like I feel like I should just do everything as a video or as audio because that just come off so terribly. And I like things make sense in my head.
Mm-hmm.
They don't make sense when they come out.
Yep. That's exactly right.
I've like really considered it. Like, even in some of the ways that I've gotten like into tricky spots with people, like doing a video, like, sorry guys, like apologizing for the way that I've come off a lot because it's gotten like pretty downhill. And it's kind of like overwhelming, and like the more I try to fix it, I feel like I'm like making it worse. So, because then it's like it just comes off as excuses or like being defensive or whatever, and I'm like, I really just don't want to be in this situation anymore. So if I can't be successful at doing what you're trying to do, then that might be the best bet.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one that struggles with that, like, and feels that way. I just was thinking today, like, maybe I should just like not, like, maybe I should just quit. Maybe I should just give up and not like even try. But I think I'm not ready to leave just yet.
Yeah, I've definitely had that thought the past couple days too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like no matter how hard I try, I keep doing it. So I'm like, I just need to just like drop the
mhm.
gun. Like
Yeah. How long have you been a part of it? Part of the group in general?
February. A year from February, so a year and a few
Okay.
months.
Yeah.
And I was totally just like, I used to have no discretion, and that's what makes it more frustrating. It's like I feel like I'm trying really hard to just like say
Yeah.
nice things and like be discreet, but I don't know. I like to cut to the chase too much.
I
So.
I think it's fine. I mean, I voted for you for president, so
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Jackie,
I
do
don't
you
know.
do you prefer Jackie or Jacqueline?
I was
Sorry.
gonna ask that too.
Um, my family calls me Jacqueline. My very close friends call me Jackie. It really doesn't matter.
I think since they changed and gave us dictator names, people have been calling me Kels, and I've been calling you Jackie just because the dictator name like has shortened it, you know.
Yeah,
But
Jack.
it occurred to me like maybe you don't go by Jackie. Maybe Jacqueline is really like what it is. But
No, when I was younger, I went by Jackie a lot. In my almost mid-30s, so I usually go by my full name, but it really doesn't matter.
okay. Um, I was gonna ask how long you've been a part of the group and like if you I don't know struggle with the tone thing too.
Um, I don't know. It's only been a few months for me.
Okay.
Um, I want to say maybe a month and a half, maybe 2 months.
Okay.
Um, for the longest, I wasn't really engaged in anything. I didn't really know how you get
Hmm.
involved or connected. Uh,
Yeah.
I would just start commenting every now and then on something if something struck me as funny, or if I saw a conversation going on, I would jump
Hmm.
in. Uh, I'm trying to think how the transition really happened because now I'm on there a lot, but it's mostly been because of the group chat.
Mm. Yeah.
That thing is a monster. Um, that's how it happened. Rex
Okay.
was posting something about starting some group chats for people, and
Hmm.
I was like on the tail end of that, and I got thrown into one, and it was pretty quiet in that one. But I guess whichever one had a whole bunch of people in it had kind of quieted down a little bit, and so he added those last few stragglers to that group. And
Okay.
in conversation in that group, Dom asked, "Hey, what do you think about having a group chat for really deep questions?" And I
Yeah.
said, "Sure, add me to that one."
Hmm.
From that point, then I just, started interacting with people there, and it's made me a little less nervous about speaking up on the main group page.
Mm.
Just
Yeah.
from building some of those connections in the group chat, it
Yeah.
made me feel a little bolder. And I'm not only commenting on the people that I know, but uh,
Right.
kind of taking some of that out. But I'm also not the type, I'm not really going to engage in a head to head battle on a Facebook
Mhm.
post just because
Yeah.
it usually never goes well,
Hmm.
almost never. And like you guys are saying, even in the group chats, it can go wrong. Sometimes the voice comments help really
Hmm.
convey your actual tone and your actual
Hmm.
thought process better than just typing it out.
Hmm.
But chances are I'm not really going to engage in a heated debate on a
Yeah.
Facebook post. So, like, I saw the liturgist post. I read through some of the comments. I'm like, nope, I'm not touching that with 1,000 people. Couldn't pay me.
For
Not.
some reason, I'm like a moth to a lamp with those things. I don't know what it is.
It's more like a train wreck for me. I'll sit back and watch it, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to jump into that phase. Now, if we had started talking about it in the group chat, if I
Mm.
wasn't at work, I may have jumped in on that,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't have engaged in it on a Facebook post.
Yeah. Yeah. We're
Kelsey, how long have you been in there?
like 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, really?
We were
Really?
maybe like maybe 3 weeks. Like not long.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
In
Okay.
fact, it was, I think I'd only been in it maybe a week or less when I saw the thing about the deep end, and I was like, oh, that's what I'm looking for. Like, yes, please, let me just see what these people are about. And I almost left that. It was, I don't know how long it was after that group got started when Joe asked the question about white privilege, and I was like, okay, like this is what I want to talk about, because everything up to that point they were just kind of easing into the like deep questions. I think, I don't know, maybe not. I don't remember. The timeline's getting fuzzy because I was out of town last week, and so all my weeks are confused. It might have been 3 weeks. I think it's been 3 weeks. But anyway, that was
It was
that.
about that. I had just started at my new job.
Okay,
The first week, I was torn between actually trying to work and trying to keep up with all the messages in the group.
gotcha, gotcha. Okay, yeah. Where are you again, Jackie? Jacqueline?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Oh, did I tell you to be? Yes, I told you to be friends with my friends.
Yes,
I forgot.
the interns.
Yeah, the
I
RUF
have
interns.
not found it yet.
Charles and Catherine, they're awesome. I still don't know what church they go to. I haven't asked, but I can if you want me to. But it sounds like you already have. A
No, I looked at the church that you said they go to, or one of the
I
two
think
that.
I said like two different ones. I don't remember.
Yeah, but I didn't know. I don't know who they are or
Okay.
who
I
they are.
think the church they go to is a church plant. Like it's a new, relatively new something. Um, sorry, Julia, you look just like my friend Dee. Like so
No,
everything switches back to your face on the big screen. I like have to do a double take for a minute. Like, wait. I'll send you a picture of her to show you.
yeah, I love seeing those. I
Yeah.
get them once in a while.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a spitting image to me. But anyway. Oh yeah, so Pittsburgh. Yes, I forgot that we had that conversation. But they wherever they go to church, it's pretty close to the campus. So
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was reading.
yeah.
Because I looked at the link you sent me. We're
Mhm.
not too far from them. Our church plant is in the Wilkinsburg area.
Okay.
It's definitely a more urban neighborhood, but it's
Okay.
not a long distance from college campus.
Okay. Yeah. Um, Charles in particular, I've talked to a bit. He like he's struggling because it's a group. The RUF group there is mostly white, and he's one of 7 black interns for RUF nationwide. Out of 150, there's 7.
Wow,
Um,
that's hard.
yeah. So he's struggling a lot, or was. I hadn't talked to him about it in a while, but he was struggling. Like he just doesn't know black people in Pittsburgh. Like he hasn't met them. Like maybe he has by now, but that was a big thing when he first moved there.
In
And
our age? This is someone that's in
huh?
our age?
Sorry.
Is this someone that's in our age?
No, I feel like he might enjoy it actually, but he's not. Um, yeah. Okay. I can't stop. I feel like I'm lying by omitting the truth that I dated Charles for a couple months. So that's probably not relevant, but maybe it is. I don't know. Oh, never mind. Yeah. He was the silly guy that didn't know what he wanted. So we're
Uh,
still friends. We're still friends. It's fine. But
that one.
no, I hate that because now I feel bad for saying all that about him, and now there's the potential that y'all might actually know each other in real life at some point. I don't want you to judge him.
I won't. I won't at all. There's
Um,
nothing to do with that. I was trying to think if it was someone that I could add as a friend from
oh,
me or what.
yeah. Um, no, I actually texted him yesterday because he went to school in Chattanooga and they had all those shootings. Have you heard about that?
Mm-mm.
Like over the past week, they've had like 9 different shootings. It's apparently like just this boiling like tensions of some gang wars, like literally gang wars, like in Chattanooga or something like that. Like 17 people injured, 9 people dead. Some I forget all the numbers, but
No, it's crazy.
craziness. So I just asked him if he knew anybody, like if everybody was okay. But um, yeah, I'll tell him I have a friend for him. So um,
I'm just gonna direct him to the guys at my church.
sure. Yeah. Um,
But yeah, I know they would probably love to meet him.
yeah,
My pastor, he's big on that. He's always trying to swoop people up,
yeah,
not to bring them to our church, but to just fellowship with more
sure.
people.
Yeah. Well, he's a super duper extrovert, so he'd be all for it.
Yeah, we could use some more of those hanging around. My church is heavy on the introvert side.
Really?
Yeah, we've got a couple of extroverts, heavy on the introverts, and then we've got some weird hybrids like me. We're kind of ambiverts.
Okay.
I'm an extroverted leaning introvert.
Okay. Okay. Are you INTP? INFP? What did you shared one time?
I didn't, because I can never remember it. I have to see it to remember which one it is.
Are you a thinker or a feeler?
Thinker.
Okay.
I
Are
think it.
you
I think it was INTJ.
okay?
It was INTJ.
Okay. I was gonna say because I know ENFPs and I know there's another type, like an introvert type. ENFPs are the most introverted extroverts usually, and I know there's an introvert type that's like usually the most extroverted introverts or something. So anyway,
I might be that.
yeah. Um, well, I was gonna ask since we sort of strayed from the gentrification topic, if you had any like Jacqueline, if you had any like thoughts from your own, I don't know. We shared about our situation, our current like whatever. I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that or if you just kind of wanted to listen or what.
For the most part, I really just kind of wanted to listen. Of course, gentrification is it's not limited to an area. There's a lot of it going on out here. Um, One of the really urban, in some ways, really rundown neighborhoods in Pittsburgh, um, the East Liberty area. It's been going through a huge transition over the last year, 2 years. They've shut down some schools, which I think the schools may have needed to be shut down because they were pretty crappy.
Mm-hmm.
But they started doing a lot of construction, bringing in some really high-end stores
Mm.
that no one in these neighborhoods could afford.
Yeah.
They brought in a West
Mm.
Elm and Anthropology, Free People, just stuff that no one in these neighborhoods,
Yeah.
they don't even shop there. They've never even
Yeah.
heard of most of that stuff, and they certainly can't afford it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Started bringing that in, and it was this project called Bakery Square Project. I think it was because the square where all of these shops are used to be where a Nabisco factory was or something like that. I'm not positive, but I think so. And then within the last year, Google has come here and created an office here. And so that brought in a
In that
whole,
neighborhood or
yeah,
in Pittsburgh.
yeah, no, in that neighborhood.
Oh wow.
So the schools that they tore down, at one point, people were hoping that they were going to make it into some affordable living,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not what happened. They did turn it into housing, but it's, the really high-end
Mm-hmm.
apartment living where a micro studio is like $1,800 a month.
Ugh. Ugh.
That's for a micro studio. No
Ugh.
one in this neighborhood can afford that. And
Yeah.
so as that moves in, people are forced out. And what keeps moving in is the millennials, the young hipsters, there's a huge homosexual community moving in now.
Mm.
It's just, it's become a mess.
Wow. And that's
So
where you live or
no, it's not far from. I live kind of on the outskirts of all that. I'm not quite suburbia, but more in that area. But my church is in Wilkinsburg, which is another urban area.
okay.
My pastor planted the church there on purpose. And most of us, we live maybe like 15 minutes away, so we're close by. We're
Mm-hmm.
like, right on the border where the neighborhood changes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not in a really affluent neighborhood at all, but we're not in the deeply urban area. But he
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to plant a church in an urban area. Uh,
Mm.
and we've got a pretty mixed congregation. When I first joined about a year and a half ago, it was predominantly white, and they had one black person there, and he was one of the elders. When I and a couple of friends of mine joined, then it was us with the rest of the white folks. And now the tide has kind of turned. There's a lot more black people than there are white people, a bunch of white people left. And we joke all the time. We were like, wait, no, don't go. Come back. We need you. White people. The point was diversity. All of us, don't go. Now we've got more white people coming back, but we've also got more black people coming in. So we're a pretty even mix in the congregation and in the leadership. But like I said, it was very intentional, my pastor planning the church there. So my concern, my interest even in the topic was more along the lines of the neighborhood that our church is in. I don't have a lot of experience in the urban neighborhood, even though I'm black and some people would think that that automatically means I've lived in an urban. I grew up in a place called Plum. I've never lived in an urban context. So this is a bit new for me. And I won't say that I go as far as being afraid of those neighborhoods, but there, just in all honesty, there is some danger in some aspects of the neighborhood, but not all of it. Like Julia was saying, stuff happens, but there's still a lot of good in the neighborhoods. My interest is more not wanting to be a savior, but wanting to actually do something that matters in the context that we're in. And something that bothers me every time I'm on my way to church is just seeing how many homes are run down and abandoned or dilapidated. And all I can think is they're building these micro studios that cost more than I make in a month. They cost that much for this little teeny tiny studio that no one except someone working at Google can afford to live in. And just up the road, we have this neighborhood that my church is in. All these houses are run down, tore down, and people are struggling to afford to live there. Why can't we do something about that?
Yeah.
Without it having to be some government-funded, low-income kind of housing.
Right.
But that's completely out of my field of expertise. And like I said, I'm not looking to try to take on a savior role or anything like that. But just seeing gentrification in that way, it's made me wonder, can't we do something to better the neighborhood that we're in? Jeremiah 29, what can we do to seek the good of the place of exile that we're in right now? But I don't have any answers for that, so that's why I said I was really just listening to you guys.
Well, I have a question. There's a neighborhood over from mine that has, just like you were saying, like there's really nice like coffee shop that like coffee costs $4 and like everything, and then meanwhile there's homeless people walking like everywhere, like right, just like a few doors down you've got the rundown houses and stuff from this fancy coffee shop where all these really wealthy hipster people come to do their work. Should I feel guilty if I go there and go support that business? Because I do, and I'm wondering if I should, or like should I boycott? Like I don't know, like because it's a great coffee shop. I just hate that they put it smack dab in the middle of a neighborhood where the residents can't even, like they couldn't afford to spend $4 on coffee. A little tiny cup of coffee, no less.
I hear what you're saying. I won't even pretend to have an answer for that. Mostly because I wouldn't spend $4 on a cup of coffee to begin with, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. That's I guess a very, very serious question.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should feel guilty for. I don't think that we should feel guilty about any of the good gifts that God has allowed us to have. It doesn't make us better or more blessed than someone else that doesn't have those. Those are just the gifts that He designed for our lives.
Okay.
I guess I would be more concerned with, am I more focused on treating myself to the things that I like and the things that I enjoy? Is that where the bulk of my time and my money goes? or am I just enjoying it because it's a good gift, and I thank God for the opportunity to enjoy something like this.
Yeah.
But still, much more of my time and my effort and my energy is spent on something more kingdom minded, so to speak. I don't know. That's just my initial thought. I wouldn't feel guilty about going to have a coffee there. I've gone to Starbucks before. I don't drink coffee, but I've gone there before. I don't feel guilty about it. I
Yeah.
would feel guilty if Starbucks was in the place of an idol in my life. I always go there. I won't drink anything but Starbucks. And who cares about the homeless guy? I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
go get my whatever they serve for coffee.
Aside from the homeless guy comment, that's my boss. He doesn't drink anything but Starbucks coffee. That's why I was laughing. Sorry. He literally will take a Starbucks cup into Panera, and I'm like, for real?
No
Anyway.
chill. No chill at all.
I have a thought on your question. So here's a crazy extreme example. Okay, say you are a recent immigrant from Europe, right? And you're given a piece of land that was very recently forcefully taken from someone else. There could have been like a battle over that land, and like the natives that originally lived there, some of them died over it, or died because of that battle or whatever. But now it's just this beautiful piece of land, and somebody is saying you can live here now, and that is like a good gift from God. Like you couldn't have that if it weren't for grace. Like it's given to you at the expense of other people's like safety and security, happiness, and even life, right? So like zoom way out from that and say this swanky cool coffee shop is here at the expense of other people's, like say there was a home there with some like people and family of children or whatever. You are indirectly benefiting from the bad things that happen to them, right? But should you feel guilty about that? I think absolutely not, because life isn't fair, and things happen that God wants to happen. I can like whine and be upset and bitter about the fact that the majority of my ethnic people don't exist anymore. But God let that happen. I don't know why, but it happened for a reason, and it just is what it is. Like, it's just not fair, and I don't think that it has to be. So the way I see it too is that very few people in America are truly like victims, and a lot of people that are in situations that there's a good chance that like a family living in a poor neighborhood could have done things differently to improve their situation. And I know that sounds bad, but I see it every day, and I see it in my family, like across the board. Like I'm the only person in my family that went to school on a scholarship, only person that has one or more vehicles, only person that makes more than like 20 grand a year, and all of these things. And I know those are all gifts from God and blessings. But when I see the choices that they make, it's hard for me to have a lot of compassion. And I understand that there's a lot of like deep-rooted feelings of inferiority, and like I had to learn to talk a certain way to, like we were talking in the race, and like I had to learn to talk a certain way to like, get good jobs and to pass my college entrance interview and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like two things are true for me. Things happen the way God wants them to happen, and you got to do what you got to do to get where you want to be. And you didn't do it. You obviously don't want it to be this way. But this is just the ugly way the world is sometimes. And that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. It's like you don't have to fix anything, or I don't think the government needs to fix this, or the the poverty of the people in these low-income neighborhoods really is something that we can deal with. Like Jacqueline was saying, like, where do you even start with that kind of thing? I think if God wants it to happen, it's going to happen. But socially, you're already just intentional in wanting the right things and looking at it from a really, like, a different way than most people do.
Yeah.
So in the times that you will interact with people, even bringing stuff up like that, and again, asking a question about it is like all that a lot of us want, you know. And so, like, just asking the question is 10 times more valuable than feeling the guilt of it. And like, God has given us each exactly the lives that He wanted us to have. Right. And like, I have to like tell myself that all the time.
Yeah.
But I like absolutely don't think we should feel guilty about it. Like I sometimes feel dumb when I like what's the word? Patronize like these restaurants and stuff. But then I'm like, it's here, it's convenient, I can afford it. Like it's good. Like just. And like I said earlier, that's how capitalism works. I just have to make the best of the situation. Right. You just make the best of the situation and make the best of the life and the gifts that God gives us. And sometimes that's expensive coffee. So. Yeah.
Yeah. My job, I'm at coffee shops a lot because I do this ministry, and so I meet with people at coffee shops, and I like sit and do my study program stuff and write thank you notes and send emails at coffee shops. So. You know, sometimes it's nice to just, you know, go somewhere off campus, and that's a great little spot. They've got, you know, it's got a good atmosphere. Like, it's a little expensive, but like, you know, sometimes it's just nice to get away from the normal like campus Starbucks, you know, which Starbucks coffee, if you just get plain coffee, is like $1.19. So, FYI. But anyway, yeah. I think that's about where I've landed. I do still feel guilty sometimes, but like I've about landed at like, okay, I probably shouldn't feel guilty.
Yeah.
And I can also like, I don't know, engage people about it and just ask like, I almost want to like meet the owner and just pick their brain. Like what? I don't know.
I have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
What's been very difficult for me, but I always try to do, is just assume ignorance, and that's simultaneously infuriating and comforting. It's comforting because I'm like, they just don't know. You know?
Yeah.
I also have a snippet of a blog post I can send you, and it's very harsh. But I am not afraid to show people how sinful I am. But I can send it to you. Like, some of my feelings about this is that, okay, they just don't know. But then it's like, that's the worst part, is that they just don't know. They don't have to know. I have to know.
Right.
I have to, like, feel the frustration, feel the annoyance. Not me particularly, but if I were someone else, get pushed out of the neighborhood, feel the distance with the churches that I'm in. Feel out of place at their functions. I have to do all of that, and they don't. And I'm the only one that has to be aware of it. Like, they get to benefit from all of these things and still be like, I didn't know at the end of the day, and like be innocent. And so sometimes that really frustrates me. Like, same with like the pioneer family that moves onto the land. They had no idea like all the bloodshed and bad stuff that happened. They used to like start this beautiful new life and enjoy the blessings from God and stuff. And she's like, oopsie, you know.
Yeah.
But I do try to assume that like if they understood, they would care.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you never know.
It's honestly really hard for me to talk to white people, especially white Christians, about stuff like this too. And I've had to apologize to Joe for our like. I sent him a private message after our first race conversation because I was like, you know, I was assuming a whole lot about you because you're a white guy, like coming into that conversation, and that shaped the way that I spoke to you. And yeah, I think I could definitely work on like, you know, the whole like love hopes thing, like like in 1 Corinthians 13,
Okay.
it would explain love hopes all things. We're
Yeah.
talking about like you hope
Assume
the
the
best in people,
best.
assume the best in people, and I'd like to think that I do, but I do that selectively because I'm human, and it was just kind of a shocking revelation. I realized I do that with my boss, who has 2 black daughters from Haiti, but also believes that Mike Brown may or may not have like whatever. I don't even want to get into all that.
Right.
He like didn't understand why I was having a panic attack after Eric Garner, that like the indictment. Like he didn't understand why I was freaking out about it, because he was like, well, I'd have to know enough about the case and blah 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 blah, and I'm like, what? Like it's really hard for me. It's been a good revelation for me, I guess, to realize I have some prejudices against white people.
Right.
And I'm probably guilty of a lot of the stuff that I'm judging them for too,
Right.
like, but it's like you said, it's comforting and infuriating. Like they just don't know.
Yeah, and like the immediate like Christian response is to be like, oh, I'm not racist, and I'll tell you right now that I am in a lot of ways, and like a lot of that's just upbringing and like what I've just been told my whole life, and then like shown. It's very easy to find examples if you already have a mindset about something, like, oh look, there they go again. But it's something that I actively, sometimes I give into it and sometimes I fight it. So it almost just bugs me more when people are like, oh no, not me. And, it's like the cardinal sin. Like you'll admit anything else except for like, no, that's in there too, and it will be until you're not afraid to talk about it or admit it. So definitely there. Which is another reason, like when there's like the more public like posts on it and stuff, I'm kind of like, okay. Just not a good idea for me.
Maybe after I've been in RH for a year, I'll be at that point too. Like this was the first thing about that. I mean, Israel even said in the original post, like, I haven't seen anybody talking about this. Let's talk about it. I'm like, thank you. Like, let's talk about it. And everyone just blew up. I think it probably served as a trigger that it was from the liturgist, like that particular source probably, like.
I'm not really familiar with it, but I can.
Michael Gungor, that whole thing, they're just he in particular, I guess, has made some really unbiblical claims, and like everyone just calls him a heretic and blah blah blah. I don't even know like some of the stuff he's said. I think he like has publicly said, like maybe he tweeted one time about like the Bible isn't really God's word, it's a cool book, like that kind of thing.
You know what's funny is that if I think it's the right person, the church that I was telling you about where they had like the smoothies and the whatever, that same building in my neighborhood, a few churches have been in, and his church was in there, so I had been there like after that first church I was in and moved to a new building, we'd still go to that church building to whoever was like there. And so he was the worship leader there.
Wow.
And he like wasn't famous yet, and then he got famous.
Wow. He's incredible. He's an incredible artist.
Yeah. And then I like saw him. We had this thing called Heaven Fest, like our Christian music concert, and he was like performing for like all these people, and he was just with this like small congregation.
Yeah.
I think it was the same congregation, but I might be wrong because there were a few. We went to a service there, and this is a prime example of like something dumb. We went, and the sermon was on like God providing or something like that, and so the pastor was like telling a story about like one of the lowest points in his life, and he was like, my wife and I, one of them lost their jobs or something, and he was like, we ended up living on $24,000 a year, and it was a struggle, which is the exact amount that my parents raised 3 kids on. And so I was like, okay, you and your wife, what happened? And he was like, we were at the grocery store, and my wife just broke down in tears because for the first time in her life, we had to buy the bargain brand cereal, like Malto meal. And he wasn't even giving the scenario as an example of how, like, dumb his life is. He was just, that was his example of the low point that they hit.
Mm.
And it was kind of like, how do you not laugh? Like, so, I mean, he was trying to give a genuine example from his own life, but it was just like, pushed us worlds apart within a couple seconds,
Like he just was aware of the congregate, like
right,
hearing it.
And if that was your low point, like, I'm just pitiable,
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone's pity because, like I said, yes, it was a rough neighborhood. It was a beautiful neighborhood. My life was wonderful here,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't want your pity. It was like that, so.
Yep. Yeah.
But that reminded me of that.
Yeah. Oh, man. So he, I think because he was the one doing that podcast, and then a couple of guys that were on there, the one guy talked about his female pastor, and that's people off, and I was like, like, I grew up United Methodist, like, I don't agree with it, but, like, I'm used to hearing the kind of liberal Christian talk, so it didn't really bother me as much as I think it did other people, but.
That's what's frustrating is that, like, we talked about where did we talk about this? It was on my own Facebook and there about, like, the baby getting thrown out with the bath water. Like, if you say anything, it's like, I'm not a liberal Christian. I mean, I don't even know what that means. Like, I wasn't raised in church. I don't know what any of that looks like. But, like, I mean, like, I don't think I look at the Bible liberally. I'm not politically liberal or any of those things. So just because I say, hey, there's racism and I want to talk about it, it's like you're immediately lumped in with the people who are like Bernie Sanders, like female pastors. And it's like, then you're not listened to because you're just like, straw manned.
Yep. So. Have you listened to Pass the Mic?
No.
The podcast that's wonderful. It's the Reformed African American Network, and so most of the issues they address are about like specifically about the like, I don't know, not just needs, but like issues and like anything that might be of interest in like the African American community at large. But like also it's just kind of good for anybody who is reformed and wants to think more seriously about like issues of race in America today. It's been so encouraging to me, and there's a Facebook group for Pass the Mic people, I don't know, and so that's been really encouraging for me too. That's actually how I found, Nadine Phillips, is that Nadine? Anyway, she is in the Pass the Mic group, and I think, I don't know, maybe because of that or whatever, it was like a Reformed Harmony was like a recommended group.
Oh, yeah.
Thing. And anyway, so that's how, like, I found Pass the Mic and Reformed Harmony within like a couple weeks, and it was just like, like all this all at once. So, but anyway, Pass the Mic, I would highly recommend. Just a place where you can talk about race as a Christian and not be like lumped in as like liberal or whatever. It's been so wonderful. Yeah. Also, the podcast is great too. But anyway, I don't want to cut this off, but it's 11:24.
Yeah, I feel badly.
No, it's fine. I am really glad that this worked out. I hate that I couldn't have started sooner. But good. I enjoyed this.
Fun. Me too.
It was really good to like see faces and like have an actual like conversation rather than just the group chat thing. That's I don't know. I always prefer that. But
I should eat dinner too.
Oh gosh, you should eat. Yeah.
I did this like, I'm an idiot. I did this like cleanse thing with my gym that I absolutely did not believe in because of salesperson pressuring me, and I like really, and I was also doing this thing where you like put money in to lose weight, or you lose your money if you don't lose the weight, like that kind of thing, like a diet bet. And because before I started the cleanse, which was so bogus, I had been consistently losing weight for several months. I'm like, well, I'm already doing it. I might as well like make a few dollars. I questioned it after I did it, but whatever. Yeah. But then I was like, oh, I'm not losing weight. So then I just really wrecked my diet trying to lose weight just so I don't lose $150.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so that ended yesterday. And like, so my eating's just super messed up.
Yeah. I totally get that.
Yeah.
I did something like that at my last job 2 years ago, I guess it was. I had a personal trainer at my parents, that was all I wanted for Christmas. I was like, just a few months of having a personal trainer to get me on a good, routine. And so that was my Christmas, just that was it. And anyway, that same time they happened to start a thing at work, Biggest Loser competition with all the staff. And so I was like, I've already got a personal trainer, let's do it.
Right.
I ended up not winning, so, I don't know how much money I lost, but
yeah,
it was $1 per pound that you gained, from week to week. If you gained a pound, you have to put in $1 or something.
Okay.
So it wasn't a ton, but anyway. All I have to say, you should go eat. I'm going to go sleep. Jacqueline, I don't know what you're doing. Oh, it's late for you, too. You're in the East Coast. Or East, whatever, time zone. What? Sorry. Did you?
Super past my bedtime. I go to bed at 9:30.
Oh my goodness.
Extremely late.
Oh man. You should probably get some.
Thanks for being troopers, guys. I'm like, it's 9:30.
Well, this was great.
Are you guys okay with me sharing this?
I was just thinking about that. I wish I hadn't said the thing about that guy. But if I had not said that, I would be totally fine with you sharing it. But it just occurred. Is there any way to cut out?
What part? I don't remember.
I was talking about the guy that the potential friends for Jackie and for Jacqueline, and then I was sharing. Oh yeah, so confession. I feel like I'm lying by omitting the truth, that I dated this guy.
Oh.
And I said his name and that he's an RUF intern, and so
I can see what I can do. So what happened was, I was going to apologize for this too. My boss texted me when you guys were talking. I'm a nanny, and she asked me if I fed the baby today. And I was like, what? What are we even talking about? That is, why are you at, I was like, what the heck? So,
no,
I was like, she's like, did you give her lunch? And I was like, why are you even asking me that? And she's like, because her dad hasn't fed her all day, so I just want to make sure she at least ate lunch. I was like, okay, it's not my thing, it's her dad's problem. So I was like, am I because when you're a nanny, there's all these liabilities and stuff. I'm are they gonna accuse me of not feeding her? What's going on? So I tuned out what you guys were talking about. I didn't want to seem rude, but it was kind of important. I can see if I can do that. Plus, there's just some chit chat in the middle that I can probably pull out too.
Yeah. I wish at 5 minutes after I said it, I was like, dang it, I really don't want my world to hear that.
Right. Okay.
For his sake, for his. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'll try to cut that out and this part where you're wishing you didn't say it.
Okay. Oh.
Okay. Well.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, you ladies have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.